2 of our clients just cancelled some big briefs. Are we heading into another crisis? Should I worry about my job?
It's a big question, and without kind of context on where you work and what those clients are, it's difficult to answer. So I'm just going to go quite broad and then maybe go slightly more narrow. I think certainly what we are seeing is a tightening across the industry, and I don't think that is unique to advertising, media. Clients are cautious in the same way that we're seeing individuals be cautious about their own spending habits. It's certainly, we have a few financial services clients. Certainly we're expecting interest rate rises to continue. Depends on which day. You can read really positive news about Australia kind of dodging it again, as we did in kind of the GFC era, or you can read some slightly negative news. I think in terms of clients pausing jobs and should you be worried about your job, I guess I'd look at the agency overall. I wouldn't look at one singular client or singular project. And any kind of well-run agency with a really good history of looking after their people will be able to weather a couple of projects being cancelled. They'll be able to kind of find some revenue in another client. They'll be able to pitch. There's a fairly robust new business market at the moment. So I think, well, if you trust the leadership of your agency, if you trust that they're running a good business, I think there's no need to be worried, certainly not at this stage. I think if on the flip side of that, if you're kind of not really clear on what the strategy is, if you're a smaller agency where there's probably less flexibility, maybe that's cause for concern. But I think without kind of understanding the context of the agency or where you work, I think I would be looking at the kind of macro signals of the business rather than the projects on a whole. I'd be looking at your leadership. I'd be asking leadership, what are we thinking about where the climate is? Where are we going to see growth in this time? I think those are the signals I'd be looking at for job security rather than kind of the micro little projects, because that's always happened in our industry, and we're far more of a project-based industry than ever before. So that means there's more projects out for the getting as well as projects going away.
Yeah. Martine, is that something that, obviously there's an EAP part to the job that you do as well? Have you noticed more queries in that kind of space or sort of concerns coming up?
It's not so much the EAP. We do these things called wellbeing check-ins, where it's not EAP, it's sort of a proactive sort of service before that. And that's where those conversations are coming up more. Yeah. But what I'm finding is if you have, if you're predisposed to anxiety, or if you're a ruminator, worrier, that sort of makes it worse, because brains are like sort of heat-seeking missiles with anxiety. It's like if you stop worrying about one thing, they'll go and find something else to worry about. It's almost like addictive to worry. So yeah, it's I think there's a bit of self-soothing that we probably all need to be doing with what we're all facing into, and just coming back to trusting ourselves. We can't trust what necessarily what a company's going to do, or an economy, or anything like that. But it's coming back to our lived experience of what we've got through in our past and what we'll get through again, and the resources we have and the support we have, the friends we have. But yeah, if you're noticing it's really like going round and round and round, I would actually go and talk to somebody, because it's not a nice way to live.
Yeah. And there is obviously, you can ask those things in some companies anonymously as well. Those mechanisms exist. We've actually done a few asking for a friend privately for companies. So your staff send us the questions. And so it's, completely third party and anonymous. And then we go and we run the session internally at the company. So those, there are things available for that. The other thing I would say is that we've just been through a crisis, and actually the feedback we got in the mentally healthy research was that businesses handled it pretty well. There was a lot more, I think, respect for leadership coming out of that crisis around COVID. Leaders were more empathetic. Empathy was appreciated a lot more. So I think especially in agencies, there's been a lot of kind of growing up around looking after people over the last few years. And I think, that sets us pretty well for what may be about to come. Who knows? I did an event in the UK last week, and we said, the question we asked everyone was, are you hunkering down or are you investing in growth at this kind of uncertain time? And the UK arguably is perhaps worse off than Australia. All agency owners, and I think 75% were investing in growth. They knew where they were at. They were like, we go and invest now whilst we can, and we can, hopefully get our businesses to ride through whatever it is that's coming. So there's some positive signs out there as well.
And I agree with you, Andy. I think organizations in general have gone through a massive learning curve around, just looking after their people, getting that humanity back into corporate life. That's positive.
Yeah, I really hope that this person works in an organization where they have some level of transparency, or at least aligned to someone that they can talk to about this anxiety and kind of help at least understand the broader context. To your point, Andy, at H&Co, we definitely do an Ask Me Anything anonymous every month, where people can ask me, Chris, anyone at all, actually, in the agency a question anonymously. And we get a lot of these kinds of questions, as well as kind of basic ones like what should we call ourselves? Howatson+Co, H&Co, so it's a wide spectrum. But I think to your point, where we've had to be at home in our living rooms and finding connection points, organizations have found ways to be more transparent, more authentic, more upfront about and sharing of the challenges that are facing the business, and treating the people that work with them as adults that can help contribute, rather than be kept in the dark from some of these kind of realities, good and bad.
Yeah, definitely. Great. Okay, next question, Martine.